Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, welcome back to another video, and in this one, I want to talk about Battlefield 2042's new jets, or old jets I guess, but the A-10 Warthog and the Su-25 Frogfoot. These things are disgustingly overpowered, and I have to say, I love it. It may not be that balanced, but it is a great way to go out with a bang for Battlefield 2042. So in this video, we're going to go over how to unlock these jets, how you can be the most effective in them, and some of the differences they have from the regular jets in the game, aka the fighter jets like the Su-57 and the F-35. As always, if you guys enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to hit that sub button. Plenty more to come, not just on Battlefield 2042, but also, of course, Battlefield 6 going into the future. There will be vehicle guides, including jet guides for that game, so stay tuned to the channel if you're looking for that. Alright, so first of all, as you probably have noticed, these vehicles are buried deep in the Battle Pass, so unlocking them is a challenge in itself. The A-10 is at level 32, and the Frogfoot is at level 42. I do have both of these unlocked, and if you guys want to know some of my methods to get experience the quickest way possible, then go and check out this video up in the corner or down in the description. Now, once you do have them unlocked, it's a little bit of a weird situation because the A-10 is a US-only jet, so it's very easy to rank up this jet. What I recommend doing is hopping into a game against AI on Conquest, and you will actually always be playing as the US team in that mode. So that means you're going to be able to just basically destroy the enemy vehicles on the ground, rack up a bunch of kills, and unlock everything for the A-10. However, this also means that while you don't have the Frogfoot unlocked, only one team is going to have access to these incredibly powerful jets, only the US team, because most people don't have the Frogfoot yet, and that is, of course, the Russian jet. Now, once you do unlock this one, it is a lot harder to unlock everything for it, even though the loadout options are the same, because whenever you go versus AI, you will always once again be put on the US team. It doesn't matter how many times you restart, you'll always be on US, so you kind of have to do this in proper games, and what I've been doing is just restarting every single round until I get on the Russian side. That way I can spawn in the Frogfoot, and unfortunately there's no quick and easy way to do this. You just have to grind out the kills. So this video is mainly going to be concentrating on the differences between these new jets and the old fighter jets and how to use them in comparison to those jets. If you're new to Battlefield 2042, I do have several tutorials on my channel that will teach you the general rules and controls for flying jets effectively in this game, along with all of the key bindings and sensitivities, so I will link all of those in the description if you're new here. So what really differentiates these jets from the other ones? Well, before we get onto the weaponry, they do seem to have a different method of speed control. So the fighter jets in the game, as most of you guys will probably know, basically the faster you go, the tighter you turn. So in a dogfight, you will have afterburners, and if you use the afterburners, that generally helps you get on the tail of the enemy jet, and most of the speed control there comes from you not overusing your afterburners, and instead making sure you hit them at the opportune moment. The A-10 and the Frogfoot, they don't have any afterburners, so the way this works, and as far as I can tell, the optimal speed to be turning at is anywhere from around 300 to 315, which for those of you who played BF4, that will be quite familiar to you, and you will definitely feel it as you slow down and speed up the jet, that the turn radius is going to change dramatically. It does take a bit of getting used to, but I found that I can win out dogfights against most people. It does need to be said though that these jets are not as turnable, let's say, as the fighters. So if you come up against a pro pilot and he's in like an F-35 or an Su-57, then technically he probably is going to take you down. But outside of that, this is really the only drawback that these two jets have. So let's talk a little bit about the weapons then. So first of all, of course, we have the primary weapon, the GAU-8 Avenger cannon gun. It's basically a flying gun with a jet attached to it. This is really all you need. I'm not even kidding. This thing is so incredibly powerful. And the best way to strafe vehicles, by the way, is just decelerate as you're strafing. You will be kind of open to missiles and RPGs because you do go quite slowly, but this gives you so much airtime, and even without any unlocks, you get so much firing time with this gun that you can one strafe any vehicle in the game, even the really heftier vehicles like the Cav Brawler or the MAV or transport helicopters, you can one strafe everything. I recommend doing this in third person mode, as you see me doing in the background here. They don't have very fast velocity, so you do kind of need to lead the target a little bit depending on your range and how fast the target is moving and whatnot, but once you get used to it, it's pretty easy. You can even kill infantry with them. Once they do have quite a lot of spread, you'll need to get like 2 or 3 shots maybe on infantry, so if you use the little predicted impact point there, that is very, very reliable. Now this is clearly the thing that the vehicle is built around, right? The GAU-8 cannon, but we also get really, really good secondary weapons as well. So we start off with some not so useful ones. We've got the AIM-9 heat-seeker missiles, of course, and then you've got the AGMs, the air-to-ground missiles. Probably not something you're going to want to use. But then, I think you need like 360 kills for this one, so it does take a while to grind it out. But believe me, it's worth it. You get explosive ammunition in the secondary slot here for the GAU-8. So this is independent of the main cannon. And if you thought it was easy to kill infantry with the main cannon, the explosive ammunition just makes it so much easier compared to like the Su-57 or the F-35. It really is a riot. I would say you can even take out 3, maybe 4 different opponents as you're floating through the air, because again, the strafing time that you get in this jet here, if you hold decelerate on the way down, is pretty nutty. I'm going to say these things are so good. Even though you do get the Hydra 70 rocket pods, I haven't even tried these out yet. I just don't feel the need to. I don't see any way that they can be better than the explosive ammunition, and so that would definitely be my recommendation there. Now, as for the equipment slots, this is where it gets kind of interesting. So you've got the good old flares, of course, for slot number 1 here. But then for number 2, you actually get repairs, which are definitely a solid choice. But you've also got the DRFM jammer that, of course, you may be familiar with from the Draugr. This is basically like ECM from previous Battlefield games, and the way that it works is that it jams the locking signals. So unlike the flares, where you can hit the countermeasure after the missile has been launched, with the DRFM jammer, you have to use it before a lock has been acquired, and then it will stop all lock-ons. So potentially you could, you know, sort of ping pong back between these two systems. And the what I've found out in testing of this is that you can strafe and use flares. Then you can go back and strafe again once your flares are on cooldown, use the DRFM jammer, but then the third time you come around for a strafe, the flares will not be off cooldown. So every third strafe, you are going to be off of countermeasures, so you are still going to have some downtime here, even if you use both of them. However, the DRFM jammer, I've never really liked it in this game. You really have to have your finger on the pulse, and it's just weird to have one countermeasure where, you know, you can use it after the missile's been fired, and then the other one has to be used before it's fired, and you've got to keep track of like which one you've used, which one you haven't. I would say that this is probably going to result in the most amount of uptime for you strafing targets and getting the most amount of kills and doing the most amount of work. But I would also say that the repair system is just much stronger overall. It's really tried and true. It's also going to allow you to not just repair up from, you know, damage from missiles, but if a jet gets on your 6, he hits you with a few rounds, he scores a mobility hit, that repair system is going to allow you to repair up and maybe then have a chance of coming back at the dogfight. If you don't have it, not so much. You're pretty much toast, at least against a decent pilot. So I would say, for most people, go with the repair system, but I also don't think it's a bad idea to try out the jammer here if you like. Now, for the final slot here, there's actually 4 different interesting choices. So the first one you'll unlock is called Stealth, and this decreases spotting radius and time, and it reduces weapon lock radius, and it increases lock-on time. So that's a pretty decent buff there, you know, decreases the efficacy of lock-on missiles, heat singers, stingers, javelins, all that sort of stuff, but it's definitely not the strongest one here. Then we have Belt Speed. This decreases reload and replenish time of the driver's controlled weapons by 25%, so this is going to apply to both the primary weapon, the GAU-8, and then also your explosive rounds if you're using them, or presumably rocket pods as well, on the secondary cannon. I find these, to be honest, useless, because you can already, as I said, one strafe every vehicle in the game, so having like those cannons come back online a little bit faster isn't going to make a difference, because by the time you've come around for your next strafe, they're going to be off of cooldown regardless. So this is just kind of like a wasted one in my opinion. And then we have what I consider to be the absolute best choice here, and it's called A-10. And it says augmented input response system makes the vehicle more responsive to pilot's input and improves agility by reconfiguring controls. But the trade-off here is that the vehicle will be equipped with fewer explosive armaments. So what this does basically is it essentially, to put it simplistically, allows you to turn tighter. It allows the jet to be much more agile, and this is really going to be an absolute game changer when it comes to dogfighting. Dogfighting is going to be one of the only areas when you become a good jet pilot where you're going to actually die, and so this is by far the best choice here in my opinion. Now it does come with a bit of a deficit. It says the vehicle will be equipped with fewer explosive armaments, but again, I still find that I can one-strafe every vehicle, and even with the explosive cannons, maybe, I don't know, they overheat a little bit quicker or something, but I can still get like 2, 3, even 4 infantry kills on separate areas. I'm not talking about infantry stacked on top of one another, I'm talking about, you know, going and re-aiming an infantry, no problem at all. And then the final armament here is called the A-10 Hammerfall, and it says reconfigured for full ground assault purposes, reinforced airframe reducing incoming impact damage, increased payload of ammunitions, amplifying the damage output for all weapons, impacts vehicle responsiveness and agility. So this is basically the exact counter opposite of the A-10. It's going to make the jet even more sluggish than it is without the A-10, but it's going to increase the damage that all of your weapons do. So you will be strafing tanks and dealing damage to them lightning fast. You'll be absolutely destroying infantry on the ground, but there's not much point in that if you're just going to die to one of the enemy fighter jets, right? So for that reason, I really would recommend going with the A-10. If you've got a wingman and you're on Discord or something and he's like dedicated to protecting you from enemy jets, then maybe you can get away with the Hammerfall. But honestly, even then, it takes you longer to do the 180 and come around for your next strafe because of the looser turning radius of the jet. So that's also going to eat into like the amount of time and your strafing time and all of that stuff. So I really honestly 99% of the time would say just go with the A-10. So I have just been having such a blast in this jet. It really surprises me that they put it in the game, because I think it's quite obviously, even to me, disgustingly overpowered. Like, it is just insane. People die to this all the time and they're saying, dude, that jet is so overpowered. And I've got to say, love it or hate it, it is a lot of fun. I think if they're going to put this in the game at any point, now is the right time. It's only like, what, a month, a little over a month until Battlefield 6 releases, and then nobody's going to be using it and playing with it anymore. So it does take a while to unlock it in the Battle Pass, but believe me, if you can fly jets to any degree, it is extremely rewarding. So I am going to leave it there, guys. Let me know down below what your favorite loadouts are for these jets. How have you been getting on with them? Have you even unlocked them yet? If you enjoyed today's video or found it useful, leaving a like is always appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with everything Battlefield, and I will see you guys in the next one.